It is just a huge honor for me to be podcast interviewing two dental students from right up the street, Olivia Sugimoto and Taylor Velasquez. And I thought this would be a really fun show. You know, we like to do, most people tell me they have an hour commute. And so say you're coming home from work and you just got your butt kicked by a molar root canal. So we podcasted the 25 greatest endodontists. So say you're starting orthodontics or Invisalign. I've done the 25 greatest orthodontists or more. I mean, we've done 1,000 shows. And I'm really excited to have you on there because 25% of our listeners are dental students. 5% are pre-dent, which I can't even imagine being pre-dent, having access to a smartphone and all this technology that you guys have, which you didn't have 30 years ago. And so I thought this would be really great to have dental students. They're both third-year dental students at Midwestern. So Olivia is a third-year dental student, and the ASDA, that's Arizona State Dental Association?
American Student Dental Association.
American Student Dental Association president at Midwestern University. So you're already into politics.
A little bit, yeah.
Does that mean when you graduate, you're going to run for mayor?
I don't think so at this point.
You don't think so? I think it's beyond evident that anyone can be the president of the United States. So you ought to shoot for the top. And Taylor Velasquez is a third-year dental student at Arizona School of Dentistry and Oral Health, pursuing his DMD and MPH, which is a Master's in Public Health. He's originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico, home of the world's greatest dentist, Craig Steichen. Do you know Craig?
I don't.
Oh, my God. He did all my lab work in dental school. That's why I got A's in lab. I'd wax up my denture, and Steichen just like, oh, my God. He'd redo the whole thing in like 10 minutes, and I'd get an A. And he graduated from Arizona State University, so did I. Good job, Sun Devils. He's married to his wonderful wife, Brooke. Is that Brooke Shields?
No.
Nope. That's probably meant to be your mom, right? And enjoys playing golf whenever he has a chance. What is it with dentists and golf? My God.
I don't know. It's competitive. It's not that hard to do. Not physical straining as much. Used to play a little sports, so now it's a little bit more relaxing.
Now you're tall. How tall are you?
6'4".
Do you think the 6'4" frame in physics has a better, longer swing? How tall is Tiger Woods?
Tiger's like 6'1", maybe, I think.
So you think tall people? Because in swimming, it's the most physical. You have to be a certain. Well, basketball, you got to be tall.
Yeah.
But if you look at all the aircraft carriers and submarines, are all long, and you look at all the gold medalists, they're all like 6'3", 6'4". You got to be that shape. When you're a short, fat guy like me, you're like a barge going down the river, pushing all this water back up the river. You know, a lion would never drive drunk, but a tiger would. And on that bad note, so your third year, so you just entered. So you had 4 years undergrad, all academic. You had 2 years of dental school, all academic. Now you're finding out that you're going to be a surgeon the rest of your life and work with your hands. So how's that feel for you? Is it very stressful? Are you hanging in there?
I think it's a little stressful because there's so many things to remember, and Taylor, you probably feel the same way, that you're just trying to think of everything, and it's sometimes easy to get focused like on an individual tooth, and you still need to think big picture. So kind of wrapping your head around everything can be stressful, but it's coming along.
Well, this is February, so you've been working hands-on for how long? How long have you been doing hands-on?
Since June, so was that like about 8 months? You too?
Yeah,
8 months.
June.
8 months. I think the worst crime in dentistry was that clear back in 18. What was it? 18. When was University of Baltimore? The University of Baltimore is the first dental school ever, and they were building the school, and the physicians needed beds, and physicians specialized. What was it?
1840.
1840. But pretty much all the physicians needed beds, but they specialized in like dermatology or nose and throat, surgery, and stomatology. But the stomatologists wanted chairs, so because of a bed to a chair, they separated the school. So dentists were separated, which I think is so horrible because when you look at physicians, 80% of them don't need eye-hand coordination. They're just listening, running tests, writing scripts, doing diagnostics. But dentistry, we're all surgeons, and we work in an operatory. And it was very, very clear to all of us old guys that a lot of people didn't have any hands. I'll give you an analogy. I could send you to art school, painting school, for 8 years. And you could be the worst painter in the world. And then here's this 12-year-old little girl over here with no lessons. and she's doing art just blow your mind. And that's what I felt dentistry was like. And so have you ran into any, and the reason that's a curse is because in physicians, if they're in surgery and they don't have hands or they don't like working with their hands, they can just go do something else. But in dentistry, what are you going to do? But if dentistry was still back in the MD program with physicians, then you could sit there and say, I did a residency in dentistry, stomatology, like the Russians do it that way. And in Russia, if a dentist, say he loses an eye and he loses 3D perception or he loses an arm or whatever, he'll just go do a residency and a fellowship in some other branch of medicine. And so you guys are surgeons. How's anybody in your class wondering if they had a set of hands or not?
I don't think so.
No, not yet.
Not yet? Well, that's good. Good. And then China just placed the first dental implant with a robot.
Yeah.
And so when I talk to those companies, and there's a couple of companies in Florida, there's a lot of companies, they really think that even the drilling of the tooth, within 10 years, you'll just be manually setting it up, doing the diagnostics, but actually a device will go in there and do it all. But so what are you passionate about now, Olivia?
So at Midwestern, we have a partner system, and their third year and fourth years are paired together for the year, and we work together in clinic. So I've gotten a lot more passionate about aesthetic work because my partner is really good at that's like what he loves. So we get a lot of aesthetic cases, and we did some composite veneers together last week. We do CAD/CAM custom staining. So I like a lot of that.
You did composite veneers?
Yes.
So you did direct composites? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got so many rants. It's hard for dentists to say they don't make them do a rant, but it's funny because a lot of dentists do veneers where they prep back the tooth, take an impression and make veneers, or CAD/CAM the veneers, whatever. But you see those 10, 20 years later. I mean, you go peeling all the enamel off the teeth. 10, 20 years later, I don't care what any cosmetic guru tells you. The reality is those teeth are going to need retreatment. And when it goes to retreatment, it might need crowns. Some of those crowns might turn into endo. And then 10, 20 years later, some of those PFM crown root canals failed and need extracted. Now you're looking at implant a crown. And the best treatment in dentistry is no treatment. And I always see dentists, someone will come in and say, well, I want veneers, and they'll do them. But when it's his daughter, it's like, no, you're going to get braces, and you're going to get bleaching and bonding. And so it's so conservative. And I think the millennials are going to be the most conservative group there is. I mean, older people, look at the Ten Commandments. The first three are authority now. Only one God, don't take his name in vain, worship on Sunday. Then the fourth one's honor your father and mother. Well, millennials like, well, I'm not going to honor my father, piece of crap. I'm not going to, what if he was abusive? And so they're more spiritual and they're more loyal to themselves. But the baby boomers, doctor said you need this. I go, well, you're the doctor. The millennials are starting to do a Google search, and they're going to want massively, minimally invasive. I think direct composites, I think veneers, indirect porcelain veneers, reached its peak 5 years ago. And it's swinging back to Invisalign, bleaching, bonding. And that's what I would want on my kids.
Especially if you have the room to do something more additive, so you have to just roughen up the surface. You don't have to take away a lot. So, yeah, I agree. I know myself, I'm pretty conservative so far. I think that might be a third-year dental student trait. You like touch a tooth with a drill. Like, I'm done, right?
And I say the indirect, say the veneers like luminaires where you just add them. So many older, non-attractive 50, 60, 70-year-old male dentists, well, that'll thicken up the tooth. But if you be objective and you look at women, there's nothing about them natural. I mean, the red lipstick, you don't see someone with red lipstick and say, wow, you have amazing cardiovascular circulation. Your lips look all I can almost see your red blood cells. Their hair, mascara, eyeliner, makeup. What is so when you're adding a little millimeter on there, they don't care. Look at breast augmentation. Most of them look like clowns. Fingernails, fake fingernails. When you see someone with half-inch long fingernails, you don't say, wow, do you eat calcium and phosphates all day long, or you have a diet of milk and cheese? So I don't get that natural stuff. But that's cool that you have a passion. So you have a passion for cosmetic dentistry?
Oh, starting to. I was really intimidated by it at first, so that's something I've become more passionate about that I'm surprised about, but I do like surgical things as much as I expected.
So you like blood and guts?
Yes.
That's my favorite. blend gas. Well, if you're going to do cosmetics, you'll want to learn Invisalign. That's really taking the indirect clear aligners is really taking the ortho market by storm. So will you be able to do any Invisalign in school?
Yeah, I have somebody in a case right now, and they're actually doing this for cosmetic purposes. They have an edge-to-edge bite, so they're flaring in the lowers and flaring out the uppers to try to get room for some porcelain veneers.
You know, it's funny. I've seen so many people over the years where this is 30 years ago where they used to do a lot of 4x extraction. And now it's probably, 30 years ago is maybe half and half. And now 30 years later, it's about 25% and 3/4. But some of those guys, I'd say, why are you doing that? And they go, it's the only way I'm going to nail the midline. And 3 times with an orthodontist that I was working with, I'd say, the first one was his wife. I said, don't look at your wife. Is her midline straight up or is it off to the left or the right? He didn't even know. I'm saying, okay, you had 3 kids with this lady, and you don't know where her midline is. And then another orthodontist told me, oh, no, you got to get the midline. He's telling me all this. And I said, how long have you been his assistant? And she goes, 12 years. And I said, is her midline on or off? No idea. So the midline stuff is insane. Yeah. It's just in the beauty. So what about you? Do you like cosmetics?
I'm starting to get into it. I pretty much right now I'm just focused on, I think my big thing I'm working on is treatment planning with my patients. Just trying to get I have a lot of new patients that come in, a lot of snowbirds right now, and trying to work on just what's the best options for them within the next couple months or a long-term plan too. So when I've gotten to dental school, I didn't think I was going to like removable that much, like with RPDs or complete dentures, and I feel like I've got a lot of experience with that in my first 8 months with this. So I'm trying to see what the best options are for a lot of removable options too. So,
well, that's one of my gripes about dental conventions. They always have the all-on 4, and the reality is there's 211,000 Americans who have an active licensed practice dentistry. 150,000 are 32 hours a week or more general dentists. 32,000 are 32 hours a week or more, especially. And they always talk about all-in-4. The bottom line is 95% of all the general dentists in the world are never going to do an all-in-4. And for every all-on-4 lecture they went to, they're going to do a dozen all-on-nones. And the all-on-none market is ginormous. And the all-on-4 is $25,000 arch. That's $50,000. Now, there's not many people who have $50,000. In fact, that Clear Choice, the big implant center, Clear Choice, they're the largest deal. There's they're doing about 17,000 arches a year in a country of 325 million. Yeah, so it's 0.00005, 0.4 zeros and then a 5. It'd be like you go to these classes and it'd be prosthodontics. 96% of all the crowns sent to Glidewell are 1 unit at a time. 96% of all the courses on Crown and Bridge are full mouth rehab. And while they're doing all this stuff, you say, raise your hand if you haven't done a full mouth rehab this year, and all the hands go up. And so, but what I want to say about what you're doing in the treatment plan presentation, that is so important because, what we see is, in America, 38% of the diagnosed x-rays are drilled, filled, and billed. And so they're collecting $750,000, taking home about $175,000, having 3 patients come in with a cavity and they drill, fill, and bill 1. 1 out of 3 is never going to do anything right. They come to my office on an oxygen container smoking in the parking lot. The people are, people. But the treatment plan, people who master treatment plan presentation, they get that middle guy. So instead of doing $750,000, they're doing $1.3 million, and they're instead of taking home $175,000, they're taking home $350,000. And my 4 boys, and I got 4 grandkids, 2 walking and 2 in the oven, I wouldn't want them to go. If you had 2 dentists and I thought you had a 2 out of 3 chance to get my granddaughter to fix her filling, and you had a 1 out of 3 chance, I'd say she was a better doctor. And that's the only really good thing about all this fancy technology. You don't need any of it to do quality dentistry. Every implantologist who has sunk 10,000 implants did 5,000 of them with a 2-dimensional pano and OCBCT, and they were fine and perfect. But the one advantage of that fancy technology is in presenting the treatment to the patient so they can see on the digital x-rays, they can see the Invisalign cases, all that technology makes them understand what's going on and more likely to buy. So you should just master that. Treatment planning.
Trying to, yeah.
Treatment planning and presenting.
Yeah, and it's hard about the dental school is that we'll have a certain number of patients and we'll have months to our next opening. So that's another difficult part is telling them, hey, I can do all this for you, but I'm not going to see you until April when it's February 1st.
And why is that?
Just because of the amount of patients we have at the school.
So you don't have enough chairs? Or you don't have
not enough opening. If that patient's with me, it's only be with me. And so it's hard to almost say, hey, I'll see you in April for our cleaning and a
But is that because between now and April, those 2 months, you can't
I'm booked
find...
with...
you're already booked.
Yeah. So, and that's not saying that I'm super popular. That's just at the school. That's how kind of, if they want to be with you as a sole provider, then sometimes they have to wait. Or if we have a group of 4 where I have a partner as a 3rd year and I have 2 4th-year mentors, that could possibly take the case also. So... Is
the clinic in general booked out way in advance?
Not as much like that, but it takes longer appointments and longer times to get in. That's the negative about the dental school. We are cheaper, but it is going to be a little bit longer.
Well, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So if you go to market and you say this ballpoint pen is a penny and you sell all of them that day, what's wrong with your price? It's too low. And if I go to the market and say this pen's $100 and no one buys it, what's wrong with my price?
Too high.
So the line, it's called line queuing theory. And lots of PhDs wrote massive interesting papers on line queuing theory. The way you gauge your line is with price. You're leaving too much money on the table by pricing it too low and having a 1 month line. If you raise the price, some people are going to get out of line, so you'll be extracting more money per hour so you can buy technology, upgrades on that. Other things in line queuing theory are like, if you go to McDonald's, is it wrong? I don't know why they haven't figured it out, but when you go to McDonald's, there's 6 lines, and you get in your line, and then the other line's moving faster. Everybody's stressed because they think they're in the wrong line. So you have one line, and then the next available teller, like at a bank or Wendy's, the next available teller will help you. Then everybody thinks it's fair, so then they don't think of negativity, and they're looking around or Facebooking or whatever. But yeah, so you need to go to your dean and tell him that the short, fat, bald guy in Albuquerque with an MBA from ASU said his prices are too low.
It's a difficult thing, and I get why we do it too. It's because we are new and we're new students, so we need to get better practice and it takes longer for our appointments. So, but we are working at the school and seeing how we can make it more efficient with that.
Well, just raise the price because it's not fair to the person in line. So the guy in front of me in line says, I'll only pay $50 for a filling. So now I got to wait in line for 2 months. The guy behind him might say, shit, I'd pay $60 if I had it done today. So it's not fair for the guy in line to be holding up people who would pay more to get to the front of the line. So what else has got you passionate? So tell me about blood and guts. What's got you passionate about blood and guts?
I've just always really liked blood and guts. They used to actually show full surgeries on TV on the Learning Channel, and I grew up watching that stuff. I just always liked it. I was like 6 and 7, asking my mom, "Can you put on the surgery?" So I like that stuff as much as I always thought I would. It's interesting. It's amazing the stuff you can do, and I also like having to know the anatomy. You have to realize that there's a sinus up there when you're extracting maxillary molars, and just makes me feel like more doctorly, I guess. I like that.
And that's where business in 3 words is supply and demand. So if you want to gauge supply and demand, look at incomes. Like average general dentist is $175,000 a year. Average oral surgeon's $411,000. Endodontist like $375,000. When people are in pain or have an impacted wisdom tooth or a tooth broke and they go to the dentist, the blood and guts is where you don't have to be a great treatment plan presenter. I mean, you got a wisdom tooth, so it needs out. They're asking you to take it out. If they got a toothache, they're asking you to do the root canal or take it out. And it blows my mind how many dentists during the 2008 financial meltdown. And I hope we're not right at there again, but I'm 55, so I've lived through this rodeo. When I graduated from high school in 1980, I had 21% interest rate, double-digit inflation, unemployment. It was horrible. Then I got out in 87 in May, and then October of 87 was Black Monday. That was horrible. And then, of course, the internet bubble from 93 to March of 2000 popped, and NASDAQ went like 1,500, 1,800. That was horrible. Then we just had the last one. I looked at that. The last one 10 years ago was my fourth recession rodeo that I rode. And about 85 dentists factually, no, I think it was 80 factually went bankrupt in the valley here. And 2 or 3 of them were in my front room crying, and it was a mess. But it was so amazing how a lot of them didn't do any, and they were up in Scottsdale doing cosmetic surgeries, and all they would do is you would come in, they'd take out all your PFMs and amalgams and put on Empress, glass, ceramic, all that stuff, charge and bank. And then when that market completely died, they couldn't do an extraction. They couldn't do a root canal. They couldn't do a denture. They couldn't do a partial. And I always thought that was weird, because imagine if you broke your leg and the ambulance took you to the hospital and the emergency room said, oh, we don't do legs. We just do arms and ears. And it's like, dude, you're a doctor. And, I think having those all those tools in your toolbox is well-rounded.
Yeah, I agree. That's the goal, is to just soak up as much as I can during school, and hopefully to be able to do it all in my office one day.
Well, I think it will. Most people will do whatever they fall in love with, and where that's confusing is if something's really hard and beats you up, then it's a great dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. You're into adrenaline and norepinephrine and fight or flight, and you say you hate that. Well, of course you're going to hate something that's really hard and beats you up. I remember my boys, I started them wrestling when they were 5. And that was my sport in high school. And I remember they were 5 years old, they didn't like it. I mean, they'd go out there and get their butt kicked by someone because they just started. But after, year round for 2 or 3 years, then they were on the other side of that coin. And so tell your classmates when they tell you they hate something, say, well, give it 100 units. Give it 200 units, Mm-hmm. And by the time you've done 1,000, you're really good. And by the time you've done 10,000, you've mastered it, So what else? What clinical stuff do you like?
We have an advanced care clinic at our school, so we have a advanced care clinic.
Okay.
So it's like a special needs department over there.
Okay.
So we work a lot with, we have a couple rotations over there where we see special needs patients. And so that's one of my great interests before going to dental school. So getting that experience and working with those type of patients has been challenging, but yet it's been rewarding in the sense that I could practice what I've been learning in school to actually do it on a patient like that. So again, using the basics of treatment planning and also doing cosmetics over there too, or just getting them out of pain, has been a good experience thus far. So, and also there's an AGD clinic over there, and we get to work with the residents also, and work with their
AGD.
AEGD, yeah. We have an
AEGD.
Yeah, AEGD. So,
AEGD.
yeah. And so we get
what does that stand for?
Advanced Education in General Dentistry.
That's a residency.
Yeah, 1-year residency over there.
Yeah.
And so at ASDA, we have 2 residencies. One's an orthodontic residency and one's an AEGD.
So the orthodontic residency, does the school pay them, or do they pay the school to go to ortho?
They pay the school to go there.
What about the AEGD?
I don't know for sure if they pay to go there or if they get paid to do that.
And where do you think your interest from special needs come from?
I have 2 brothers who have autism. I'm the oldest of 5, and so 2 of my brothers have autism.
Wow. And what kind of autism?
It's my brother Marshall. He's 25. He's a bit higher on the spectrum. My brother Gabriel's 21. He's a little bit lower, and so they're misdiagnosed when they were kids up until my brother Marshall got into high school. And so they were misdiagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, learning disabilities. But one of their biggest challenges was going to the dentist. And so that's how I kind of sparked my interest with it. And it's been a good experience at ASDA because I get a lot of patients who have similar experiences in the past. And so I get to be doing that now.
That is so cool. The sister after me, I got 5 sisters, 2 older than me, 3 younger. The one just younger than me, special needs, and I have a staff that has Asperger's syndrome. But so is there any medications for that?
There used to be. I think it's more of just now they're working they're working right now. So and they live with my family right now, and so it's more of just everyday life, just living their life and trying to get through it with that. And they're doing an excellent job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they live in Albuquerque, and they're just they're working, and they have programs they go to throughout the week. My brother Gabriel does. My brother Marshall doesn't, but my brother Gabriel does, and they get help. So everything's normal to me.
Cool.
So
I always think, and one of my best friends here in town, He runs a special needs center for trisomy 21. What's
Down syndrome.
Down syndrome. And it's funny because when I go over there and have lunch, he thinks it's so funny how, a lot of people feel sorry for these kids with Down syndrome. But this is an adult place, And he says, my God, they're 40 years old. They don't have a stress in their life. And there's a lot of times we'll be talking. And one time me and Mike were talking, and a man came in, Down syndrome, and he goes, we were supposed to have graham crackers and frosting 10 minutes ago. And Mike said, oh my God, I'm sorry. So he jumps out, we make them for everybody. But Mike said, how would you love it if the biggest stress of your day was that your graham crackers and frosting was 10 minutes late? You know what I mean? And my sister, Kayleen, she's one of the happiest people I know. I know. So overthinking gets you in a lot of stress.
True.
So, are you thinking about doing a residency in special needs, or is that more the specialty pediatric dentistry? Or
there's some kind of residencies that specifically do a lot of special needs, but I'm uncertain right now what I want to do with residency. I'm content with where I'm at, but we'll see. We'll see where life takes me after my third year, and exploring those residency options for that.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten a lot of experience at ASDA with that, and
so you were born in Phoenix.
I was born in Phoenix, grew up in Albuquerque. And then you're in dental school. So you lived in both towns. How do you compare Phoenix to Albuquerque? They're only an hour flight away. That 45-minute flight. I love it here in the valley.
And why do you love it more than? Do you love it more than Albuquerque?
Yeah.
And how is the two cities different? Because what's the weirdest thing if you look on a chart? At the end of World War II, Phoenix, Albuquerque, and Denver, 3 pairs the same size. And they all went different directions, really.
Yeah. I think the opportunities here are tremendous compared to Albuquerque, even with work other than dentistry, and driving 15 minutes down the road here. I live in Gilbert. Driving 15 minutes down the road, I have everything I need. In Albuquerque, it's 10 years behind on everything, I feel like. There's not enough money in the state to go around to other opportunities. Like my brother's Special Olympics of New Mexico got canceled this year due to the budget, and it's kind of sad to think about, but and even programs there are falling apart, and so it's sad to see in Albuquerque, but my family likes it there. My dad grew up there, he's from there, and so they like it there, but I found my home here, and they come visit me all the time, and I go back sometimes too.
I don't like to talk about 4 subjects: politics, religion, sex, or violence, but in MBA school, they were talking about, when they talked about macroeconomics and politics, they show all the things that New Mexico was anti-growth. I mean, people would say, we want to come in and do all that, and then it was like, no, we don't want to do that. And it really 10, 20, 30 years of anti-growth policies end up making a huge difference.
Yeah, like we got excited when the Jack in the Box got created there. And that was back in like 05, and I was like, Jack in the Box, this is awesome. And this is Albuquerque, there's 750,000 people, so just little things like that kind of just add up. And yeah.
But it's got better elk hunting than Arizona.
I bet. I see it. My wife's family hunts, but I don't. I
don't hunt. I refuse to kill anything that I don't want to eat. Like, I have no problem shooting cows. I can shoot cows with machine guns, fish, but elk and deer, I just don't like the taste of it. But my oldest son loves the taste of it, loves to hunt it, eats the whole damn thing. But the trick is, what they do is they go to the Bureau of Land Management, and they see where they got their tags are, and they find the biggest area of land with the least amount of water, because those deer, wild horses, elk, they got to drink water every day. So the bigger the land, the ideal is the biggest piece of land with only one pond, and they're going to be there at sunrise and sunset, no questions. But so what's your next move? What are you gonna?
Not quite sure yet, but I think I'm set on staying a general dentist and probably not doing a residency. So I'd like to start looking at job opportunities, and I think ideally for me, I'd like to see a slower private practice setting with some mentorship, and I think I'd like to experience something faster paced, maybe lower cost, like get people in, get people out. I want to see as much different sides of practice as I can, and I'd like to own my own practice maybe 5 years out.
Why 5 years
see.
out?
I want to get some experience. I want to feel really confident with the dentistry. I want to see a few different business models, get more experience with insurances, and that's relative, 5 years, but I think that's going to be enough time without waiting too long. So that's kind of what I have in mind.
Let me rant a few things about that. A lot of them think, you said 5 years. So we know that turnover in associates is just 1 to 2 years. They don't stay anywhere. And it's not just dentistry. I've repeated this too many times, but everybody's focusing on the fact that, like, my mom's brother got a job at Mobil Oil when he was 16 and retired at 65. That was so normative in Japan and the baby boomers. But when you take the biggest market cap companies of Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Microsoft, I mean, their average millennial only stays 1 to 2 years. So the only reason I'm telling you that is because if all the people that graduated in the last 10 years went to Heartland and Pacific and Aspen, or went back home to their hometown dentist and worked there 5 years, I'd say that's a great plan. But I'm just telling you that all your homies quit after a year or two.
Right. Because
humans don't like checks and balances. They don't like being told what to do. They don't like to be under your thumb. And so if you're going to wait 5 years to set up your practice, I bet you'll have between 2 and 3 jobs.
Yeah, I also do have a potential job offer that would be starting out part-time. And somebody I used to work for as an assistant, he said that we could kind of grow the practice together, and eventually that could move to a 5-day-a-week thing. He just doesn't have the patient base yet to promise 5 days a week off the bat. So that could work out, doing a corporate thing for a couple years and moving into that direction. But we'll see. That's still in the very early stages of talking.
One of the things to tell all your homies about is on Dental Town, we put a lot of work and effort into it. We programmed a free classified ads. So the categories are seeking employment, you're looking for deal, or looking for an associate, jobs available. Look at that, 2,670 jobs available. And then you can search by state or city, and the DSOs love it. A lot of the DSOs that I talked to, they said, "My God, we find 80% of our people on your free classified ads." But what we did is, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. We looked at all the other job sites, the big ones, Monster Jobs, all the big ones, and we took all their features. You can put a picture, a resume, all this stuff like that. And the other thing that's really good is a lot of students, like say you're in Arizona, but say you want to, say your wife wants to live in Florida where mom lives. The internet doesn't know any borders. But and buying a practice, selling a practice, that's a good mentorship too. Is when you go buy a practice, go work for someone for a year, then buy it. But yeah, it's all free. So you could find a job. I mean, with 2,670 jobs, I guarantee you wouldn't have to apply to 50 of them before you'd already have a job. I mean, if you applied to all 2,670 deals, you're passionate about special needs, but were you in the Arizona Student Dental Association too? Because you had me come in and speak.
Yeah, so
two Sundays ago?
2 Saturdays ago.
Oh, 2 Saturdays ago? Thank you for that. That was so damn fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So what was that about? What were you involved in that brought me in?
So actually, Olivia and I were presidents of the American Student Dental Association for each school. So we're the as a chapter. She just got finished actually being done the president. But
So you were both president at the same time?
I'm at ASDA. She's at Midwestern. So we're both.
Oh, you're at Midwestern.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I missed that. So you were both president of the American Student Dental Association
for our schools. Yes. So there's 66 chapters across the country, and so we represent for each school. Yeah.
And were you the president for the whole school or for your class?
For the whole school. And I just finished up my term about a month ago. So I found a lot more free time on my hands, and you'll be there soon.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
So first of all, volunteerism is amazing. They say only 14% of adults volunteer, whether it's Kiwanis, Rotary, the church, your food pantries, only 14%. What was inside of you that made you be that 14%? Why did you want to be the president at Midwestern of the American Student Dental Association?
So for me, it took me a long time to get into dental school. I figured out I wanted to be a dentist about halfway through college or in the start of my third year. So I didn't have all the perfect grades. I didn't have all that. So I applied, got rejected, did a post-bac program. So once I finally made it, I just decided I wanted to get the very most out of it. And leadership helped me get to know the faculty better. It just gave some opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't doing those things. Also because I want to be a practice owner, kind of being in charge of some people and trying to manage more things at once. I think that was a good experience for the future.
Yeah. Kind of just fell into my lap doing it. You know, I did ASDA before dental school, so I kind of had a mentor at ASDA, and she kind of introduced me to it. And going into dental school, I just knew I want to be part of it, just because they were doing the most to better my education at a dental school, outside of just the classroom and the clinic. And so I kind of just fell into it during my third year, just representing my classmates, and I wanted to be more involved in the university too, and I felt like it was a great thing to be a part of, and get experiences like such as this right now. I probably wouldn't have had this opportunity if it wasn't for ASDA. And yeah, volunteering is just doesn't feel like it's a job. You know, it's training, but it's just part of. I just feel like it's part of dental school. I feel like what I have to do.
So is it an elected position?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
I ran unopposed, so. So I guess it wasn't a little bit elected. Yeah.
Well, but yourself probably repelled a lot of competition. A lot of people that would have. I mean, like someone else would have ran. There might have been 5 guys running.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really cool. So now I don't want to get politically incorrect, but we have 2 dental schools in the same valley. The Phoenix, they're not in Phoenix. You're in Glendale and you're in Mesa. Mm-hmm. But it's one's the west side of Phoenix, one's the east side of Phoenix. Is a school a school? Are they different? Are they fundamentally different, or is a dental? Because if some kid was listening to this and said, "Well, I don't know which dental school to go to," you know, or what would you tell a kid born in Phoenix, in Ahwatukee, who said, you know, are they the same? Are they different? Does it matter?
I think they're different. I don't think so, and honestly, I think it's it really doesn't matter. I think if it's different, it's good to be different. I grew up. I went to undergrad at ASU, so I had both opportunities to go visit Midwestern and ASDA. And I felt like they both had their positives. I think the differences are just, it could be, what I was told when I was before dental school was that Midwestern is a great place for being a general dentist. You have new facilities there, you have great patients, and you have great faculty. What else am I missing with Midwestern?
That's what I get told a lot, is that the great clinical experience, and I don't know how it compares to ASDA. I never interviewed there, so that's just what I hear. But I'm sure it's great. You could be a great dentist graduating from either program. I think it's going to depend on what you're looking for out of a school. Midwestern doesn't have the public health or as much special needs experience, so if that's what you're looking for, ASDA is a good choice. Yeah.
I kind of chose that for the public health reason. Like, I'm getting my MPH with there, and I felt like that was a good opportunity to get my degree there. And it's not like we're rivals like ASU versus U of A, you know. And as a pre-dental student, I wanted to just get into dental school. I wasn't going to be too snobby and be like, oh, I want to go to UCLA over ASDA. But that's how I chose my school. I felt like ASDA gave me the right opportunity, and I just took it.
Did you get a degree from... After you got your degree from ASU, did you get a degree from U of A?
No way.
Because to get a U of A degree, all you got to do is drive by the university real slow with your windows down. They'll just throw it in a diploma. You're completely useless. They're worth it. But so that is, and what made you want to get your master's in public health? That much more work at the same time? Because that's 12 classes, isn't it? 6 core classes and then 6 electives.
Yeah, I think it's 7 core classes at ASDA. We do get our certificate.
7 core, and then how many elective?
I think there's another 5 to 7, I believe. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of work on top of getting a dental degree.
Yeah, it's online.
Well, so why did you do that?
I do want to get into public health later on, I believe. You know, whether it's in a community health clinic or something of that sort. So I felt like it was an opportunity I couldn't pass upon. And I feel like during my 3rd and 4th year, I can manage doing stuff online, because it's all online. And so I do practicum during my 4th year, and I could take time off the clinic to do that. But some of the classmates that I've talked to didn't need to take time off the clinic.
So when you say public health, what does that mean to someone?
So public health. So in regards to community health center, to cheaper dental care that could be over in a different part of the state. Access to care could be an issue for this community, and having a community health center there could provide cheaper dental care, better opportunity for them to receive care. And so working in a public health setting such as that, where it's a need to access to care, has been an experience that we get here at my dental school. During our 4th year, we get rotation sites. So half the time during my 4th year, I'm in the clinic. Half the time I'm on an external site, a community health center across the country.
It's tough for international viewers because so basically in the United States, yes, a Medicare is a federal program out of Washington, D.C. that's for the older people. And then Medicaid is for the poor, but each one of the 50 states has it differently. Lots of states don't even have money for community health centers. Now, we're in Arizona where there's a lot of Indian reservations. The Bureau of Indian Affairs has a lot of deals, but when you say these community clinics, are these mostly Indian reservations, or do some states have more Medicaid-sponsored community health centers for people that are poor?
Even here in Phoenix, there's some areas where there could be a community health center. And like you said, the Indian reservations do have those. For example, I'm going to San Carlos, which is about an hour 45 minutes away from here, from Albuquerque, to do one of my rotations. And they're at
San Carlos?
San Carlos Apache, yes.
So it's up north?
It's east. It's by Globe.
City?
Globe in,
it's by Globe.
Globe in Miami, yeah.
Nice. When you go to, when you leave here, at 1 hour you're at Surprise? No, 1 hour you're at Superior?
Superior, yeah.
And then 30 more minutes Globe?
Mm-hmm.
Superior, have you ever done that,
Lost Dutchman?
Arboretum walk? It's a mile circle walk. It's the coolest thing in the world. They have plants from every continent. It is so damn cool. Whenever you go to the Globe, you always got to stop there and get out, stretch, walk around the deal. Just crazy good.
And you check that out.
So, do you see yourself more in working for an Indian reservation or more of a Medicaid clinic? Or?
Probably in the future, down the line, 20, 30 years, probably Medicaid closer to that. Right after dental school, I don't know what kind of office I want to be in, if it's private practice or community health clinic like that. I want to keep my options open with that. Eventually down the line, I would like to do that.
I hope that you also do your online and your MBA, because I don't want to get political, but a lot of economic principles, economics is as much of a science as endodontics. And I think they're both about the same predictability. I mean, what we know with endo is that in 5 years, 5% of the molars treated with endo are extracted if endodontists did them, and 10% are extracted if general dentists did them. So we're talking about a 5 to 10% failure rate in just 60 months. And that's insurance data. I don't like data where 3 people are looking at PA and you're saying, well, does that fail? Does that fail? Does that fail? We're talking about simple, black and white. It was extracted and paid for by an insurance company. And you go to these Medicaid plans, it's when you start treating the poor or taxes, it gets so emotional. And when you're at ASU MBA, it's not math and geometry are emotional. No one gets mad that a integral and a derivative are different. It just is what it is. But like in these Medicaid clinics, they have a 50% cancellation rate because the people that are sponsor them just believe it has to be free. Well, that's not how you manage people. And they went to Taco Bell and spent $5. If they had to open up their purse or wallet and pay $5 to make an appointment, that cancellation rate would go from 50% to 5%. But then when you tell people like in that arena, well, they got to pay $5, they get mad because they're already poor, and it's not about poor or rich. It's how do you manage people? And I think you were talking about different business models treat them faster, and all of economics, all they do is every year they measure everything and they try to do everything faster, easier, higher quality, and lower cost. And there's only 2 industries that don't apply business or economics. It's the entire government and the entire healthcare system. And I mean, it's just, I mean, even little things like you go get in a car wreck, and the police, they're not digital. I think that would be, my gosh, it would be so cool if we got the President of the United States instead of, I mean, one guy said, we're going to go to the moon and back. We're going to safely put a man on the moon and return him in 10 years. You know what would be far cooler than that? We're going to be paperless in 10 years. You know, just, I mean, like 911. You call 911 and they're like, well, can you give me a description of your card? Dude, I can FaceTime my 80-year-old mother. How come I can't text 911? How come I can't FaceTime you? I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, they just are not technical. So bringing technology and economics to public health would just be huge. Just huge. A few business principles, a few technology principles. It'd be amazing. And I also wish you guys could help spread the word to the American Student Dental Association that you're doing your whole MPH online. We have 400 online courses on Dental Town, and they're all free to dental students. And that is just amazing. I feel so proud of that. So do they also, doesn't AT still have an online, what other online programs they have besides the Masters in Public Health? What else could you choose from?
They have different programs. AT still, they have like a, we have PTs there, OTs, and there's different other health specialties. But the only
PTs, physical therapist,
athletic training. We have a DO program there, med school, audiology program, and athletic training, and a PA.
Physician's assistant.
Yeah. So my wife's a PA actually, so this is good to have somebody else.
She's a physician's assistant.
Physician assistant, yeah.
So where did she go to undergrad?
She went to ASU.
So you meet her at ASU?
Yeah, we met at ASU.
And then, so she went to 4 years of ASU?
She went 4 years. She actually did 3.5, I think, and then went to 2 years of at Pacific University in Oregon.
Pacific in Oregon.
Yeah.
And that is now coming to dentistry.
Similar model they're trying to do, yeah, with therapy.
Yeah, and the dentists, of course, they get so emotional and they're so upset, and you like they, by the time you're 55, you've seen these rodeos so many times. The first time you're all involved and you're all riled up. The second time you're like half, and then the third time you're like, dude, it is what it is. And it's funny how is the glass half full or half empty? So the initial rodeo was like back in the 50s when they started training girls to do cleanings. And the dentist like, well, no, that's my job. You know, and so it's always territorial, turf protecting, and they're like, no, that's my job, and she's gonna take food out of my mouth. It's always, you know, protection. Well, I don't think anybody, there's not a dentist in America who wants to fire his hygienist and do all of his cleanings. And then you look at these physical therapists or dental therapists or whatever. So when I'm in a state that has 100 of them practicing, half of them are just outraged and want to fight it in the laws and the courts, and you know, we should take that to the Supreme Court. The other half are like, God, man, this is awesome. My hygienist doing my cleanings, my dental therapist doing all my simple routine fillings. I saw one dentist talking about treating people faster. He would sit there and he worked 4 chairs for just restorative. Then he had a big case over there that was scheduling like hour and a half, 2 hour appointments. He would numb, and then go work on this big case. And numb. And then he'd go back to first, drill, and then leave. And then they would sit there and pack it and clean it and all that stuff. And that was with expanded function dental assistants. Mm-hmm. So now with the dental therapist, he didn't even have to numb. He didn't even have to drill. So the hygienists are doing all the cleanings, the dental therapists are doing all the fillings, so he can concentrate on the stuff that he feels that he went to 8 years of school for. The hard stuff. Maybe it's molar endo, implant surgery. A special needs patient takes more time or whatever.
Yeah.
So and the other deal is, regardless of whether you want it or not, it doesn't matter. When you're your age, you think you can stop it. You know what I mean? When you're my age, it's like, look, this happened in medicine, and it's not going back. And it's just a mid-level it helps with accessibility, availability. I don't even go to the emergency room anymore. Gosh darn Walgreens right up the street from me has got a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week Walgreens clinic. They got the little med clinic in there. And, if it's something serious, she would tell me. I mean, one time she sent me to the hospital. So, dude, that's a kidney stone. And, it's, you got a flu, take this, do that. Just availability, access, affordability. That's where the market will go.
What are you passionate right now about dentistry?
What I'm passionate about the most is after doing it for 3 decades, I'm a dentist. And I'm from UMKC, and I got an MBA from Arizona State University. And what I see the biggest problem in healthcare is availability, affordability, accessibility. So I like studying the business models, and I like transferring knowledge. And we started in Dentaltown started in '98 when I saw them talking about football on the ESPN website. I said, we need to be talking about dentistry. And Dentaltown was just enormous, and the motto was, you will never have to practice solo again. And dentists were professionally lonely. They were isolated. And to be able to log on and talk to your fellow colleagues about a case or whatever, you're all, there's very few people who knows what it's like to own a dental office. You got your staff all wanting to raise, your insurance not wanting to cover anything, the patient thinks everything should be for free. It's crazy. And you got to do all that while you master root canals, fillings, and ground. It's an overwhelming deal. And when I got out of school, the first 10 years, I got my fellowship in the AGD, my mastership in the AGD, my diplomat in the International Congress of Implantology. I mean, it was a solid about 300 hours of continuing education here. It was mastering my craft. Now, and then after that, the second 10 years is more about, I wanted to learn about this endo thing, but the course to the Arizona State Dental Association is up for 6 months. I don't even know if they're going to have a course on endo. And then maybe I wanted to learn about apicoectomies, and this guy, I went to the whole 8-hour lecture and I didn't even talk about apicoectomies or whatever. So when the internet took off, I thought this is a fast way to share information. So we started, like University of Phoenix Online, we started Online CE. So within a country, within America, you're transferring knowledge from specialists who have done 10,000 root canals, make an online course. Like we got a 19-hour online CE course on endo that took 5 years and $1 million to create. I mean, talk about a transfer. You're talking about some, I don't want to call him old endodontists, I don't know if he'll hear this podcast, but some guy, who's done 10,000 root canals, trying to teach you guys. How many root canals have you done?
I actually have not done any yet, which is the one thing I haven't done. That's a whole other story because, I'm working on getting a few cases transferred over to me because it's
watch that course first. Oh. How many have you done? You haven't. So this is what just makes me so excited. So here's a guy who's done 10,000. Takes 5 years of filming and editing and movie producing, and I mean this is like making the movie The Titanic. $1 million of video recording, editing, the whole 9 yards, to just make it as succinct. Well, where's the book I wrote? The first draft of this book was 600 pages. Second draft was 400 pages, but I knew, you got to get it down to 200. So the first cut of this endo course was thousands of hours. And 5 years later, it's down to 19 hours. And that's the fastest, highest quality graphic video, everything, to transfer everything in his walnut brain into yours. And what really makes me excited, so that's within a country. But you have 220 countries, and 20 countries are rich and famous and do it like the United States. There's United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Scandinavia, Western Europe, Japan, Hong Kong, South Korea. But there's a lot of countries that are hurting in the Central and South America, Africa, most of Asia. And in those countries, we don't charge a fee for this. And I was lecturing in Tanzania, I've been in Somalia, Ethiopia, South Africa, Soweto. And these dentists, when they found out it was me, they actually cry. I mean, they just come out to me and they go, my gosh, my whole village sent me to the best school in Somalia on the harbor. I forgot what it was called, Daro something. And I came back and I was practicing, and I thought I was the bomb. And then on my Samsung one day, I just happened on a search, found Dentaltown. Then I found out that it was free for me. And she says, oh my God. She goes, I had no idea. I mean, I knew what I knew. I didn't know what I didn't know. And she said it would take her 3 months to save up enough money to fly one way to LA, let alone take the course and go back home. And now she's listening to all these people, and I mean, she just thought it was the greatest thing. I got to finish that story over there because back to the free classified ads. So I asked her, I said, if you had one wish in your mind regarding dentistry, your professional career, not your personal life, what would it be? And she says, my dream, Allah willing, is that someday I'll have a radiograph, an x-ray machine. So I took a selfie with her. I said, just post it on Dentaltown. She posted on Dentaltown. This is what's so cool about our profession. 3 dentists drop shipped her their radiograph machine. They go, well, I got a new one. No one's used the one in the break room. You know, it's been back there in a box for years. You know how much it would cost to ship an x-ray machine to Somalia? I mean, what would that cost? I mean, good Lord. And that's what I love about dentistry. They're all about sharing, helping. I mean, I call Dentaltown just a huge AA meeting where, you know, you walk there and you go, hey, my name's Howard and I've been a dentist for 30 years. God help me. And so I'm passionate about that. And then my new deal, I realized that for 20 years, we've had 5 programmers programming every request you wanted for in Dentaltown. And it took me 20 years to realize that all the other social media, it started off, you know, I was one of the first guys in social media back when it was 94, when it was email groups. You'd sign up for dentists at Yahoo group, dentists at CompuServe, dentists. And I think CompuDent was the biggest one. It's where I met like Mike Barr, other guys. And you'd open up your email, it'd just be this endless stuff. And you'd start, you know, and then you'd miss the important email from your mom or your patient or whatever. So all the early social medias, all they did is got out of your email. So MySpace, Friendster, or today what would be Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, it's just an endless news feed. There's no organization to it. And that's great for showing, here's a picture of me and my wife, my dog, my cat, my birthday. It's great for that, but you can't learn a root canal in that format, and you can't politically get something done, like get a stop sign or a bridge or whatever. And I realized that the message board format, which was one of the earliest formats, is dead. I mean, it's all endless news feed. So what I did is I cut and pasted Dentaltown for my town here of Albuquerque, which is 85,000 people. And so I call it Tukey Town, and we just launched that. And it's so cool because instead of root canals, fillings, and crowns, we're talking about churches and schools and doctors and crime, and Facebook news feeds aren't searchable. So you could go on there and say your kid's at Desert Vista High School and she comes home and says, my teacher's crazy. Well, you could go right to the message board, to categories. You go to schools, and then you see, well, there's only 2 high schools here, Desert Vista and Mountain Point. You go right to Desert Vista, and then you could go post a thread about, you know, your daughter going to Mrs. Cranston. And so what if the next reply is, well, my kid comes home from school and says that your kid's the crazy one and disrupts the whole class. Versus what if 30 parents said, oh, I know, that lady, that teacher's out of her mind. You know what I mean? So when you're trying to go, I look at the endless news feed as a mile wide and an inch deep. And I look at organized searchable message board as an inch wide, like just dentistry for Dentaltown, or just Albuquerque for Tukey Town, is just an inch wide, very specific, and a mile deep. And so what I've done now is I've made that community cut and pastable. So say you came along and say your wife wanted to do physician's assistant town. Say you came along and say you're just your number one hobby is drones. You bought yourself a drone for Christmas. You get a drone town, golf town, swim town. So it'd be I think the endless news feeds are just they're just almost like entertainment. They're just mental masturbation. People just go there and scroll and scroll and scroll. They don't get anything done. So I think I like to. We're all doctors, and doctor's Latin word docere, meaning to teach, just like the word Bible just means book. And I think at the heart of all doctors, whether you're a physician, dentist, or a doctor of law or philosopher, I think that the heart is always a love for teaching. There's always a love for teaching. If you look deep down in the soul of every dentist, physician, lawyer, anybody at ASU that has a PhD, deep down there's a passion for teaching. And what I think is the neatest thing about the teaching aspects is the changes in technology, which haven't even started in your school systems yet. Like, you know, you still got all these kids going into crowded classrooms. I don't know why all these kids aren't at least, what if 20% of the kids stayed home once a day, 1 day a week, and did it online? You know, I mean, I don't know why every kid has to be bused to that school every single day. And then, you know, so I think the technological changes in education, whether it be amongst dentists, schools, I just think that's very exciting. And like say when you've done something 30 years, you know, when you're doing your first cleanings, it's really overwhelming and scary and all that stuff. But after you've done 1,000 cleanings, you gladly give it to your hygienist. And when you do your first filling, you know, God help the patient, you know. But after you've done 100 patients, you know, but by the time you've done 10,000 fillings, you'll gladly give it up to a dental therapist or a health therapist or an associate dentist or whatever. But I think after 30 years, I'm most passionate about what's new in this technology and how can we make the next generation learn all the history, learn everything they need to know faster, easier, higher quality, lower cost, just transferring knowledge. Why do you already decide to be a general dentist and not specialize? What were your thoughts in already making that decision?
I think that everything I've done so far, I don't want to give up any of it. If I became an endodontist, I would never do another crown or filling or implant uncovering. And so far, I actually like it all, except for maybe the cleanings.
One of my friends, a couple of my friends in dental school, one of them said to me, he goes, I just cannot learn everything. I'm just going to pick one to make my life easier. So he became an endodontist because he said, my God, there's so much. I mean, the United States has 40,000 monthly magazines in the healthcare space. I mean, that's why the physicians have 58 specialties and we have 9. So the flip side is, if you're specialized, it's a lot easier to keep up. Because if you do Invisalign, cosmetic, which is adhesive bondings and all that, and do surgery or place implants or bone graft, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to learn.
I might have to make some choices and whittle it down, but.
And that's one of the things that by the time you've been out of school 5 or 10 years, a lot of dentists will say to me, they say, well, you know, I'm going to add like sleep apnea. I say, okay, well, what are you going to take away? I go, nothing. I go, so in 1900 there were no specialties and healthcare was 1% of the GDP. By 2000, the physicians had 58 specialties, the dentists had 9, and healthcare was 14% of GDP. Now it's 2018 and it's 17% of GDP. So I said, so you really believe in this doctor do-it-all? Are we really going to go back to the 1900s where one doctor just does everything? That's out of your mind. So when you start looking, you know, at following these doctors 10, 20, 30 years, they start off, you know, out of the gate trying to do everything. But the ones that get really, really successful, really good, you know, they start narrowing it down. And dentistry is a team. You know, it takes a team to fix the human body.
Definitely.
So that's what would you say to someone? Is every dental student part of the ASDA? Or do you have to pay?
At our school, well, there is a fee that there with each per year, but our school pays for it. Is that part of yours too?
We get, if you pay for 2 years yourself, then our school pays for the other 2 years. So we both have pretty high percentages of membership.
Like how high?
I want to say 93%.
Ours is auto enrolled, so we have 100%. Like.
And what about is the American Student Dental Association? Are they affiliated with the American Dental Association?
Yes, this is just a student version of it. So so
this is really part of the ADA.
We have partnerships with them. So then on a national.
Well, where's your address? That's the dead.
Our Chicago.
211 North Chicago.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, in the 22-story marble building. That's an ADA division of the ADA. So when you're overclassmen come out of school, what percent of them are joining the American Dental Association? What percent transfer from ASDA to ADA?
I'm not sure on that, but we do have an event that we're going to try to promote even more this year where you can convert your ASDA membership when you graduate for the rest of that calendar year to an ADA membership. So I know there's that opportunity to start out. What happens after that, I'm not totally sure yet.
And then the ugly 4,000-pound girl in the room, student loans. Are you guys both proud owners of some student loans?
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah. And is that what's the mood of the student loan indebtedness in school? What are their thoughts on student loans? Is it do they talk about it much?
I think that everyone would like for it to be lower. I don't get the sense that anyone's too stressed out about it, because if you're smart about things and if you're a passionate, good dentist, you're going to be fine. You're not going to be starving. But it's a lot to think about, and I think a lot of us avoid things that could possibly involve hurting our hands. Like, I don't snowboard anymore.
You don't snowboard?
I've only been a few times, but after I went the last time and fell and kind of hurt my wrist, I was like, I think I'll just stop doing stuff like that now.
Yeah,
so
see that broken bone right there?
Yeah.
Can you see it still?
Yeah.
Walked right. I always did wrestling and boxing, and still did it when I graduated. I wasn't open 6 weeks, and I broke my hand in the boxing gym. And it was so funny because I went to this orthopedic surgeon. He was 60, and he goes, "Hey, dumbass, you're a dentist. You're not gonna fix your car. Throw away your chainsaw. And what the hell were you doing boxing?" He goes, "That's just stupid." So yeah. So what percent of the kids? So did you guys have any dentists in your family tree? Mom, dads, uncles?
No, me.
So you guys same here. So you guys were all first.
Mm-hmm.
What percent of your class has no student loan debt? Dad, mom paying for it all.
Very few.
Very few for us too.
I mean, like percent wise, would you guess?
Probably like 5%.
Really? So that's really rare.
Same. Yeah.
And what would you say the median average student loan indebtedness will be?
For my university, it's probably about around 400.
Yeah, and what about yours?
It depends on undergrad loans, but probably closer to 500 for Midwestern.
So is Midwestern cost more than HE still?
I think so.
About the same.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, what's a year cost now these days?
About $100,000 if you're living off of your loans too. That's living expenses.
So $100,000. So you'll be $400,000 in debt. And the thing that they don't realize that last year the average oral surgeon made $411 in 1 year. The average endodontist made $385. So when you go back to the general dentist, $175. It's only 2 years earnings. The general dentists that do what the specialists do. So oral surgeons are making $411. So the general dentists that do their own. Like my most exciting fun thing I do is pull four wisdom teeth. God dang, there's nothing. In fact, my staff have gotten so mad at me because I'm in Phoenix and I'm across from Guadalupe Indian Reservation, and they would come in and if they would fail the financial arrangement, but we already had the pano, we already had the deal, and I'm just like drooling on these teeth, and I tell Jan, I said, I'm doing them anyway, and she says, you can't. Because she's going to go back to Guadalupe and tell everybody that they're free. But I mean, I just love that stuff. But so the general dentists who do more of their oral surgery aren't making $175. They're over the $200, $225. Same thing if the average endodontist making $375. The general dentists doing their molars, if they're doing their molars and their wisdom teeth, they're making bank. And then when you start getting in public health, those are what drives those people to the dental office the most. It's pain. It's my jaw swollen. I can't eat. I couldn't sleep last night. Or children, pediatric dentists make bank just because all the old guys like me. I mean, I had 4 babies and now I got 4 grandbabies, and the last thing I want is a 3-year-old crying. It's just a weird head game. I mean, I do it, but I sure as hell don't like it. I mean, I'd rather just mow the yard and pick the weeds, and I mean, it's tough. But if you get into those things, I mean, there's a big demand for those procedures. I know. So yeah, the student loan, and then like I say, my biggest joke is, you guys are all worried about. Are you married?
Yes.
And you're married, and you're both married in dental school. But any kids between two?
No kids.
No kids. So you're not LDS.
I'm not.
You always know when they're LDS because only the LDS has kids in dental school. But the funny thing is, as crass as it sounds, but half your class is going to get divorced. and not any of them are going to get divorced for less than $1 million. So if you think $400,000 is a lot of money, wait till you get divorced. But you know, did I miss anything I was talking about? I'm so glad that we had 2 third years come by and share that. And I want to tell the older guys looking for associates. I mean, you always talk about employee turnover in the tech sector, because the tech sector, it's extremely confusing for the tech sector. And even in general dentist's office, there's not, I know it's probably illegal to say this and it's not politically correct, but everyone knows if you hire a 40-year-old associate, he'll stay with you probably 10 years. And if you hire a 25-year-old associate, you're going to get 1 or 2. But when we look at the DSOs that keep the associates longest, it's actually Heartland. And why? Because they have the most CE mentorship. And the first thing she said is she wanted to get an associate job as a mentorship. And the reason they left your office in a year is because you gave these 2 kids all the fillings and single crowns, and you did all the bridges and implants and all that, and that ain't how it rolls. I mean, if they're not learning, they ain't staying. And of all the dentists I know that stayed with an associate for 4 or 5 or 6 years, I said, well, what kept you in that office 5 years? And they go, well, man, I knew if I stayed there 5 years, and I mean, this guy places, you know, 30 implants a month, or he does, you know, he's done 3,000 Invisalign cases, and I knew to be at his speed, knowledge, and level in whether it was Invisalign or placing implants or whatever, you know, I wasn't going to learn that working for him in it for a year. So if you want to keep them, you got to mentor them. You got to be making a training. If you can't do it yourself, look what Heartland does. They just provide a lot of CE. And one thing you could do is provide him online CE. I mean, he's getting his MPH online. Pay for 400 hours of online, 400 CE courses on Dentaltown. But if they're not learning, millennials are moving on. And even when they're at Facebook, some guy will say, well, what project are you working on? And you'll say, oh, I'm doing this. And like, well, is this still fun and exciting? And you say, well, now it's just work. And they go, why don't you jump from Facebook over here to Uber and get into the driverless car space? And you're like, you know, that sounds fun, because I'm not learning anything here. I'm just doing repetitive motions. I mean, I was learning for 6 months. I was learning for 8 months, but I'm not learning anymore. And once you're either growing and learning, or you're just working. And I don't think anybody wants to work on an assembly line, just screw into a hole on every car that goes. You know what I mean? They want a challenge. So listen to them. And then my final thought for the students is this: it's the human condition to not be transparent. Governments don't want to be transparent. Every agency, you know, nobody wants to be transparent, and nobody. It's so hard to convince people that nobody cares about you. I mean, there's 7.5 billion people. How many of them were thinking about you this morning out of 7.5 billion?
Few.
I mean, was it 1%? No, was it 0.00001%? And for 20 years, the people that something was not wired right in their head and would just talk out loud on Dentaltown and say, okay, so I've got 2 residencies to choose from, and here's the situation each one. My name's Fred, and they're in these 2 deals. And all these older guys, it's like a fraternity. I mean, they love their homies, and they're on there, and they're all trying to tell you all this stuff that at 25 you might not realize that someone might know something more at 45, 55, 65, or they're going to buy a practice in their hometown. And some people, you know, I mean, like 99% of dental students won't do it. It's a private matter. Or they'll want to ask like one person. Well, that's a small sample size. No one in statistics would tell you to sample one person. And so these kids that come out of school and say, okay, I'm going back to Parsons, Kansas. Here's the 2 practitioners sell. And then they'll start getting private messages. Oh, my God, the one guy, you know what I mean? He's a horrible dentist. He's been sued 3 times. He's an alcoholic, you know, whatever. And so just be transparent. I'd give up privacy so you can make better, faster, easier, higher quality decisions. But it's a Saturday. I think it's amazing that you guys volunteered so much being the president of your school's ASDA, and then on a Saturday when you could be with your spouses, you come over to my house and tape a podcast so that everyone can learn from you. Thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.